Yeah, but, I mean, do we wait for him? Find out where he is. Okay, I would like to call this meeting to order. It is now 5:02 p.m., and this is the business portion of the public meeting for October 2nd, 2023, the Village of Port Jefferson. Clerk Prillo, would you like to confirm there is a presence of a quorum? Yes, madam. Mayor? Present. Thank you. Trustee Cassay?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Laux is absent and excused this evening. Trustee Biondo?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Giuliano?
Present.
Thank you. We await Attorney Moran. Treasurer Gafka?
Present.
As there is a quorum, I confirm the presence. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now move to resolution number 01100223, resolution to enter into executive session at 5:02 p.m. to discuss potential litigation and the appointment of a particular person or persons. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
I'll second.
Trustee Giuliano. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be going into executive session.
Perfect timing.
Thank you. And for those watching online, Kevin, we will put this on a pause, correct? And okay, are we ready to go? Okay, so I think we're looking at resolution number 2. We have first, we previously established the presence of a quorum, yes?
Yes, yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and then we moved into executive session, and we need to come out of executive session with the resolution, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
We have resolution 02100223, resolution to close the executive session and reopen the Village of Port Jefferson Board of Trustees meeting at 6:06 p.m. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second, Trustee
Thank you.
Giuliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And now we'd like to officially start the public session of this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have an announcement that the next Board of Trustees meeting, which will be a business meeting, is scheduled for October 16th, beginning at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, let's start with a presentation of our code enforcement and law enforcement. Suffolk County Police, Officer Owen and Officer Murdaco.
And John Epstethew.
Okay, thank you. Say your name again.
Sure. John Epstethew.
John Epstethew.
Epstethew, yeah. Call him Officer John.
Officer John.
You have to turn on
Thank
your
you.
mic.
Okay, yeah, hit the...
Thanks. Got it? Awesome. How's everybody doing? Good? Nice to see everyone. It's been a little while since I've been here. Yeah, it's been, I think, last year sometime I was here was the last time. So, I have, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I have some stats. I don't know if you want me to, do you want me to review those stats? Okay. All right. So I have the time period of September 5th to October 2nd, 2022, and we're going to compare that same time period to 2023. So it's September 5th to October 2nd. In that time period, 2022, Port Jeff Village saw 455 calls compared to this time period at 351. So a slight decrease, not too bad. Aggravated harassments stayed the same at 1. 1 last year, 1 this year, and that aggravated harassment is still pending. It's still under investigation. Assaults, we had no assaults for both time periods. We had 0 burglaries for both time periods. Criminal mischiefs went down from 5 to 3. Out of those criminal mischiefs, 2 of them are still under investigation, and 1 arrest was made for the other one. Harassments went down from 11 to 6. Out of those harassments, we have 2 that are under investigation. 1 arrest was made, and 3 were no charges to be pressed by the complainants. Larcenies went up from 4 to 6. 5 of those larcenies are under investigation, and 1 is one the victim has decided not to pursue any criminal charges. Menacings, 0, and robberies, 0. So the big major crimes, assaults, burglaries, robberies, nothing there, which is good. So our total criminal incidents for that time period in 2022 was 22, compared to this year at 17. All right, ADA cases, we went up 49 to 74. We had 0 overdoses for both time periods, which is great. Check on the welfares is our medical calls, was 13 and then 12, so not much of a change there. We saw a little bit of an increase in disturbances from 63 to 78. And we have a total number of non-criminal incidents. Last time period was 433 compared to 335. Motor vehicle accidents, relatively the same, 23 last year compared to 25. 0 fatals for those motor vehicle accidents. And we have 27 summonses issued that month this year. Last year was 25, and we saw an increase in arrests. We went from 4 to 10. Okay? Does anybody have any questions regarding any of those statistics I just read, or anything about that? No?
I have a.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing those. Always curious to know if there's a trend or something of note, something that's happening, including but also outside the village, that drives statistics to go one way or another. I don't know. Disturbances. What qualifies as a disturbance?
A disturbance is a very general term for. A disturbance can be marked as a traffic light malfunction to a noise disturbance, sometimes even a dog barking, is a disturbance.
All right, yeah.
It's a general term that's used to dispatch our officers for just general calls that we need to go investigate and see what they are. Sometimes that changes. If the officer gets there and has something else, he may mark it as something else other than a disturbance.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure.
I know it seems to be increasingly so, and I know I feel like a broken record now about this, but the loud vehicles, which I know is definitely not isolated to here in Port Jefferson Village, really, throughout the county, the island, the state, and I know I was just down in D.C. and unfortunately we're like, oh, they're here too. It's not just a loud motorcycle, but these vehicles that sound like shotguns, vehicles that are modified illegally in order to create a disturbance, pointedly. That's the only thing that they're really intending to do.
Yeah.
And so many residents have come to me as I've voiced concerns in the past,
Yeah.
and so we'd love to work together with the different departments to see how we can effectively, without just flooding the phone calls, flooding the phones in to the non-emergency numbers and just having someone on the other line just sort of ticking, saying, okay, there's another disturbance. How do we collect those statistics in a meaningful way to exercise that there is an issue here, in the village and outside of the village, in the precinct really, that needs to be addressed as far as these noises, because it's not just it's
all
not
right,
just like I'm tired of hearing the noise. It's a quality of life
Yeah,
issue.
of course. Well, the way that the Suffolk County Police attacks something like that, noise disturbances with exhaust, mufflers on motorcycles and vehicles, this is usually part of a vehicle traffic stop. So the officers would have to conduct a vehicle traffic stop in order to issue a summons to that individual. So a lot of times, a lot of these vehicles are everywhere. And we can't be everywhere, obviously. We don't have that many officers. You have one officer for one side of the village and another officer for the other side of the village if you divide it up Main Street. So there's a lot of vehicles on the road. We definitely understand the concern. I know I have my concerns about the same quality of life complaint in my own neighborhood. We definitely do enforcement on loud vehicles, exhausts, and modifications of exhausts. So that's something that we definitely try to make a correction with, but it's not always that easy to go after everyone who has a loud exhaust. So, but with that, I still say call 852 cops, call our non-emergency line, put those calls in for loud music, loud disturbances, vehicle exhausts. These types of things should be reported to the police department. We should have a record of it. They shouldn't go unknown and have a unit to kind of go after something that we don't know where the problems are. So if we're able to retrieve the information for loud exhausts from mufflers, from vehicles, from anything creating a disturbance, we want that history. We want that in our database so that we can effectively target that area with that complaint. Okay?
I appreciate that advice. So residents then would call 631-852-COPS.
Cops, that's right.
And let them know that there was a loud vehicle.
Absolutely.
And I think you'll be on my speed dial.
Oh, absolutely. Make the call. It puts the area on our radar. If the community residents aren't calling for issues in their neighborhood, somebody else in another community is calling, and that officer is now being dispatched to that area. He's being pulled in that area, which then it pulls him away from where where the other problems are. So.
And that's true for loud music in the
For
downtown
anything,
area where
yeah.
people live in the
Yeah, I would say that
apartments.
goes for anything. I'd say that goes for anything. You have suspicious individuals walking up and down your street that you think are suspicious. They don't live in your area. You know that they don't live. You see cars up and down your block. These are things that you can call the non-emergency line for. Let's get officers into the area to take a look.
And does it help if they post it on Facebook?
The community? Well, I think it's a good idea to share the information with your neighbors, right? That there is a suspicious individual. Keep an eye out. Let's all collectively keep an eye out. If anybody sees anything wrong happening, let's call 911 if there's an active crime in progress. But if it's just suspicious, we don't really know, right? And we want to get police presence in the area, then we want to call 852 cops.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Suzette, if you have a question, can you step up to the microphone and you have to go through all that work? Yep.
This isn't worth this. Sir, in your statistics, do you keep track of speeding tickets? And the reason I'm asking is that any number of residents, those that are here, not even just in one section of Port Jefferson, in a number of sections have been brought before the trustees, speeding issues. So I'm just curious, how many in your time periods do you keep track of how many actual speeding tickets are issued?
Well, I don't have that information, but I could try to get it from our data analyst at the precinct to see if he can actually pull those numbers. I don't know if he can.
Okay. I'd be curious because while my experience is limited just driving around Port Jefferson, I've never seen a cop pull somebody over that would look like they ran the stop sign or for speeding.
Okay.
But be that as may, that's limited. I think
Yeah.
it would be interesting to know in a time period like you had defined,
Right.
how many specific tickets for speeding?
I'd have to see if I can get that information. I don't know if I can.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Take me a minute, but I'll get.
Yeah, take your time. Should have a mic.
Donald Pollock, 7 Senior, 7 Corey Court, Port Jefferson. As far as the loud mufflers are concerned, I know it's very hard for you to do anything about it. Back in my day, we had cutouts. We used to have to get under the car, loosen up a bolt, and flip the lid off of it.
Yep.
Today they have electronic cutouts.
Yeah.
Inside the car, they flip the switch, and it's wide open exhaust. They see a patrol car,
Yep.
they flip the switch, the exhaust is closed, nobody hears anything. I know you try to do everything that you can, but when it comes to that, now that's illegal also.
Right.
All right, but you can buy it any way you want. You can buy it online, and it's not a problem.
Right.
But it becomes a problem when there's noise, and it's very, very hard. It's all done from right inside the car.
Yeah. Thanks for that information.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Any other questions? Thank you, Officer John.
Sure.
We, we have one. Come on up.
Mark Robinson, 27 Thorn Lane, Port Jeff. Suzette got me going. Put a speed trap
Yeah.
up on the top of Sheep Pasture Road, Lane Street.
Sure.
Aim it down North Country Road, and you'll catch everybody coming down the right side trying to make the light.
Explain to me again where? Sheep Pasture Road.
On the top of the hill. As you leave Main Street and you go up Sheep Pasture, you get to the top of the hill.
Okay.
Stop there, shoot the gun down to North Country Road, and they'll start at Mather Hospital. They'll see the light's going to change, and they'll just boogie down there and try to make the light. And if you're trying to come out of Thorn Lane, where I've been living for the last 49 years, you take your life in your hands.
So that's east to west, coming from like the Mather Hospital,
Okay.
going west across Main Street.
Yep.
Thorn
Okay.
Lane is the last
It's the
right.
box. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
familiar.
the box, that's the next one.
Yeah.
You don't give tickets out on the box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what the hell the use of having a
have to-
box?
We'll have to, I'll relay that information to our enforcement units about the box. I know it's been an issue for a long time. I think we've talked about this in the past. We know that it's busy sometimes from the hospital. They let a lot of people out at different times and whatnot.
Yeah,
I think it's probably something that it'd be good if there was some type of road study that was done, maybe limiting some turns out of Thorn Lane, maybe to go one way. That might help. I've always said that. I think it's pretty dangerous with the amount of traffic sometimes to cross multiple lanes like that, especially if people are rushing, like you said, sometimes to get to the traffic light. So I will definitely bring it to the attention of the precinct again and the enforcement units and see what we can do with that. Okay?
all right. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else have any questions for me about anything? Anything? No? Nothing?
Thank you, officer.
Sure, anytime. Have a great night.
Wait, don't leave.
Oh,
Wait till Andy goes, and then we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Mayor, board, residents, John, I want to thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
Very informative. I appreciate that. Thank you. And boogie, it's a great word. I love it. Love it. Anyway, welcome, everybody. I think we could use a little bit of rain around here. What do you think, huh? Anyway, let's start off with how we always start off with our traffic surveys. We had our second traffic survey at Brook Road, and the data shows there's a problem. There is an issue. We know about it. September 13th through the 27th, total vehicles counted, and this was at the beginning of the school year, so it's going to be elevated a little bit, 2,428. That's an average of 173 vehicles a day going up and coming down. Average speed is 23. Now, you have to take into effect that the school zone is 15 miles an hour from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., or 7 to 6. So your off hours, it's going to be 30. So you have to take that into effect with this survey, but there is definitely a problem. The maximum speed recorded was 34 miles an hour. So that's pretty fast going down that hill. Okay. Total number counted under the speed limit was 2,164, or 89%. So most of the people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's the 11% that are going over the 264 people that went over that we have to worry about. Average speed was 23 miles an hour. So again, that's most likely out of the 15-mile-an-hour range during school hours and on weekends. It's my belief, just based on my observations, that it's the residents. Brook Road and Scraggy Hill aren't cut-throughs. They're residents. I've pulled over people on Scraggy Hill this morning. I pulled over one on Scraggy Hill that drove around the speed table there. I said, is there any reason why she didn't even realize she did it? That goes to show you how habit-forming it is, that people just do this without, they don't care. And it's the residents that are doing it, I can tell you right now. So it's up to the residents to police themselves. Follow the rules of the road in your village, and we won't have a problem. Okay, so what we're going to have to do in the coming weeks and coming months is figure out what we're going to do on Brook Road. There are things that we know we can't do. We can't put stop signs there. We can't put speed tables there because of the winter months. It creates a hazard. So we had one meeting out there about a month and a half, 2 months ago to get the ball rolling to see exactly what we can do. So people that are concerned, we are out there. We're aware of the problem. We're going to try to figure out what we can do that will make everybody happy. But in the meantime, what we could do is ask you, the residents, to please obey the rules of the road. Stop signs, speed tables, speed limits, all the above. And if that happens, then we'll be good to go. Okay? The next traffic survey will be on California Avenue and Old Post Road starting tomorrow for a duration of 2 weeks. There's been some concern about that area. So we'll get to that. And that we'll report on in November. Upcoming events, or actually past events, the Village Cup Regatta, the Dragon Boat Race, the Mustang Show, and the Hill Climb, all affected by the weather. But they all went out without a problem, no issues, except for the rain. The upcoming events for October is the Harvest Fest, October 21st and 22nd, also the Children's Halloween party up at the Country Club, October 31st on Halloween, and that's for residents only. As far as code department goes, as training, we had our first aid CPR training this past Saturday. 30 of our guys were trained. The other 4 that weren't trained got training through their own organization. So everybody's trained in CPR, first aid, stop the bleed, Narcan, you name it, they got it. Okay, so they're out there, God forbid something happens, we're out there to help you. And I'm going to give you an example now. One of our officers was in distress. Another one of our officers got there, lickety-split. Ambulance got there, they got him taken to the hospital, and thank God he's okay. So it's through our training that we have once a year that helped save that officer. Okay. Our complaint report recap for the month of September. We wrote 63 complaint reports, most of them consisting of graffiti, dog complaints, traffic conditions, and disturbances. As usual, the downtown area. I'm going to focus in on 2 of them. Graffiti. For some reason, graffiti is a big thing now, especially if you go uptown. We're on it. We know about it. We're taking pictures of it. We're sharing those pictures with Suffolk County, making sure there's no gang activity going on. So far, so good. I just think it's people that are bored, okay, and don't have anything better to do. For the most part, they're being taken care of, painted over by the building owners. So like I said, we're on top of that. We're making reports about it, and we're watching out for it. Dog complaints. For some reason, people don't like to leash their dogs, especially down by Centennial and by Rocket Ship Park. No dogs are allowed in Rocket Ship Park. okay? If we've gotten plenty of phone calls about that, we respond, we take care of it. But just, residents, please do not bring your dogs to Rocket Ship Park. Either bring the children or bring the dog to Centennial. But again, I've stopped plenty of people that have the dogs walking around in the middle of the street by Harbor Front, by Centennial, and all it takes is one. All it takes is one. So please make sure you leash your dogs and keep them out of Rocket Ship Park. As far as summonses go, the Code Bureau wrote 214 summonses in September. Again, the same for overtime parking, missing license plates, uninspected vehicles, and parking without a permit in the resident lots. Okay, and that's, again, it's, if you have a vehicle, it needs to be inspected. Whether we write it or somebody else write it, it needs to be inspected. Okay? So please just do what you can to make sure your vehicles are all up to date. And we do use our discretion, do give warnings, so don't think we're out there only, all we do all day is write summonses. So we do a lot more than that. And then next up is our Chief Investigator, Jimmy Murdocco, who's going to give our FAT recap.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, Mayor. Our last court date was scheduled for 9/26. We had 56 cases on the docket. 21 were quality of life, ranging from disorderly conduct, open alcohol, and different tickets in that area. We focused during that time frame up at the train station, Perry Street, in the field on off Oakland. There was some activity back there. For the upcoming court date is 10/10. We have 48 cases on the docket. 32 out of the 48 are quality of life. So there was an increase of FATs issued. Again, littering, public intox, open alcohol. But that was a big increase from the September court date. Again, we focused at the train station. Some areas down in the lower part of the village, we did focus on Mill Creek and in the Meadow Lot area after hours. That's where I'm. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy. So last but not least, we have our Facebook page is up and running. I think we have maybe 25 people following what we do, which is fine. If you want the name of it, Official Port Jeff Code Enforcement Bureau. You sign up there, you join along and follow what's going on. We try to put as many announcements out as we can that are things that are going on in the village, things that we're doing. And like Officer John said, if you need any non-emergency issues, something that's, that can wait, but you want to bring to the attention of Suffolk County PD, 631-852-COPS, 631-852-2677. Okay, let's get them involved. Let's let them know what's going on. Not to give you guys any more work. No. But to let them know what's going on in our village. Okay, and last but not least, if you need to reach out to code, you need to get in touch with one of us, 631-774-0066, or my email, aowen@portjeff.com. Okay. Anyone? Any thoughts, questions, concerns? Yes, sir.
You have to bear with me. I haven't been able to come for a while, but I'm back. Donald Pollock, 7 Corey Court, Port Jeff.
Welcome back to you, too.
Yes, thank you much. It's good to be back. How often or how many times on a weekend and during the week, okay, does code go around and scan the lots, okay, for the plates to check to see if it's a village resident or not?
Every day.
How often?
How often? I can't say how often. We have one car, you see, it's called PJ3. It has the scanners on top of it. If that's assigned to an officer that's qualified,
Yeah.
it'll be out there that given day.
Being out there, my question is, and if you don't have the answer tonight, I'd appreciate if you could have it for the next meeting. How many times a day do they scan the lots?
We
But
can
if
get
they're
that
not, if
information.
they're scanning the lot once a day, all right, it's useless. All right, we spent a lot of money for that system, okay, and it was done for a reason. And I appreciate it if you could tell me,
Sure.
how many times they scan.
Absolutely.
And I've never seen them scan down at the beach. Okay, you go-
The beach had their own scanners this summer.
right, and you know what they tell you at the beach? Right, you can't park here, all right, but if you're gonna park here It's okay, but code might come and give you a ticket.
Yeah, see, that's news to me.
That's what they say.
That's something I'll
Okay,
have to
and
take up
it's-
with the people at the beach.
Yeah, well, it's closed, you know.
Well, I know
it's-
that.
I know it's, you know, but for, you know, for next year.
Because that defeats the whole purpose then.
That's exactly correct. And that, but
That was,
that's,
you know, wasn't,
I don't want
brought to
them,
my
you know,
attention.
most of them are young people. I don't want them to have to confront anybody. Okay? But in the same token, they all have phones and they call code. Instead of telling the person, you can park here, and if code comes, you're gonna get a ticket.
right.
And I was told that many, many times. So I
Appreciate
appreciate
that
that
information.
also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sit next to you, because I'll be up again.
Anyone else? Thoughts, questions, concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kim Delman, 25 Contessa Court. Now, I know this goes by part of the village, part by the town, over by CVS where you walk across.
Yes.
The one that we all almost get run over by at least every time we walk across the street. Is there anything that can be done over there? I try to go when the school crossing guards are there, as pathetic as that is. But some days I can't walk, other days I can. Sometimes I'm stumbling just because my legs don't work right. But people are constantly, you could be standing there and they're looking at you going right through.
Right. Now, you're talking
There's-
about the stop sign coming off Barnum?
Yes.
Onto, okay.
Both ways, going across from the parking lot
Right.
to CVS and back over
Right,
again.
right.
But it's always coming back out on that corner.
Right.
Which also poses a danger to the school.
Right.
Because if they're coming flying down, going towards Main Street, it's the same thing. They're getting to that corner, they're flying through. But
Right.
are they going to stop in time for somebody driving into the school?
I could see about putting somebody over there. And is it any particular hour or?
Oh, this is all the
Okay.
time that people always fly through there. It's just, I would say probably 90% of the time that people are flying through that corner.
I mean,
So it's
I know
just
you,
an
I understand
annoyance.
your concern. I've seen it myself. The best I can do is put someone there at odd
Right.
hours, maybe when the crossing guard isn't there, because they tend to pay
Obvious.
attention
Yeah,
more when the crossing guard
exactly.
is there
So-
and be on their best behavior.
Yeah,
But again, it comes down to the residents, and, you know, I know that area is, a lot of the ferry traffic is coming up Barnum. So we'll have to make sure maybe we need to put another stop sign there on both sides of that intersection there.
Right, or
On the left
watch
side and
for
the right side.
pedestrians.
Yes,
I
that
mean,
too, that too.
something, it's just annoying
Yes.
that I know it becomes part of village and part not, so it's hard to do something
Right.
there, but
Right.
it is annoying when you're trying to walk across and your
understand.
leg locks up and you're going, can't get anywhere, and they're just going straight
Right.
through and going, oops, no, not oops.
Kim, we received an alarming email from
I know
the
exactly.
crossing guard,
Yeah.
even, that she's been in danger crossing through that crosswalk with the child. So
Yeah, exactly. It's
it
it's
is-
difficult because
it
they
is
just
something
don't-
that we've been talking about a lot and
Right.
are looking into, so.
I thought at one point maybe those blinking lights like they have where
Right.
those other park things go across, so just something, but,
Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kim, I'm
Yes.
sorry, just tell me your last name again.
Delman, Delman.
Anybody else? Anything? Anyone? All right. Thank you all very much. Madam Mayor, Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Chief Owen.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, sure. Officer John has one more point to
One more
make.
thing, I just wanted to let everybody know. The 6th Precinct does a monthly community meeting. I think it's highly informative for everyone here to come down and listen to what's going on everywhere in the 6th Precinct, not just what's happening here in the village. What I do here is what the inspector does for the whole precinct. You'll get stats for everywhere. For every hamlet in the 6th Precinct, you'll see exactly what kind of numbers our officers are answering every month with regards to calls and what kind of activity they're putting up there with regards to other crimes going on throughout our precinct. So I think it's pretty important, maybe get down there every couple of months and hear what's going on outside of the village. Again, it's all statistic driven, and the inspector does the presentation. We have it every month. It's the second Tuesday of every month, and this month it's going to be October 10th. at 10 a.m. It is held at the 6th Precinct, okay? And we do post that on Instagram. If you follow Instagram, follow us on Instagram, SCPD 6th Precinct. And we send that out every month, okay?
Thank you. That is very helpful to know.
Yeah.
Do folks get a chance to voice concerns as well at this?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We have not only myself, maybe my partner, Officer Berry or Sergio Moeller. Those are my two partners in the COPE office. We'll be there. We also have some of our plainclothes. Our lieutenant could be there and some of his officers. So yes, we do have a lot more representation when it comes to the guys and gals that work in the precinct to listen to some concerns. And it's a good way to just find out what's going on outside of here and see what is happening everywhere else, because it definitely impacts us all. All right?
Thank you.
All right. Good?
Yeah, you may go now. Thank you. Thank you for sticking around.
Great night.
All right, now we'd like to kick off our public comment section and session. So are there any public comments for tonight? Which Barbara first? Barbara Sabatino, Barbara Sakovich? You decide.
Barbara Sabatino, 2 Westview Avenue, Port Jefferson. You okay with that?
I won't hit you.
Okay. I was on the portjeff.com website looking for the information for leaf pickup and for branch pickup. And what I had done was in the search bar I put branch pickup 2023. And it came back, there's nothing here, check your spelling. So I did it for leaf pickup, same thing. So under Port Jeff Government, I went down to Department of Public Works, and it had some good information about what they do. And then when I finally got down to branch pickup, it said 2022. So I didn't know if it was last year's information or if it was just a typo. So I had called Michelle, the secretary for the highway department, and I said, I'm Middle Village, when is my branch pickup? She gave me the information which matched the 2022 information on the website. Now, every year they rotate it, so if you're first to be picked up, you're last the next year. So, no? Second? It stays the same? We're going to check that out. They used to rotate.
Barbara, it usually stays the same for branch pickup. Leaf pickup, it changes. But
Okay,
branch
there we go.
pickup
We're
usually
both
stays
right.
the same.
So I don't know if the information on the website, if it's a typo with 2022 or 2023. But they're always helpful if you call. The other thing I wanted to mention was last month I had gotten here at 6, and the trustees meeting had been going for a while. The 5 o'clock business meeting, which used to be downstairs, was going on up here. So this time around, I said, oh, let me go at 5 so I don't miss anything. And we had the executive session. So the question becomes, what happens next month? Should I show up at 6? Should I show up at 5? We self-entertained ourselves with stories about computer punch cards in the 1980s and 70s, but I'm not good at doing that month after month. So what should I do next month? 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock? It all depends.
So I think on the agenda that we posted on Friday, we indicated that there would be an executive session at 5 p.m.
Okay.
And that the
totally.
public session starts at 6.
So the best thing to do is just take a look at that before coming down.
Always best practice.
Okay.
Outside of that, the
Barbara, you
clerk.
can always feel free to call us, too. Call the
thank you.
clerk's office
Okay.
at any time. And in reference to, just to backtrack to the brush pickup, we do have a flyer that was made recently, so we're going to make that available as soon as possible also.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
When I had called Michelle, she said, gee, I handed in my flyer, but it wasn't up on the website, so.
It's revised, and in addition to that, we'll be discussing it a little bit later, but we are also revamping the entire website to make it easier to use and to read. So we have a request for quotations out for that, and we'll be receiving responses back mid-October.
Very good. Thank you. Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Barbara Sakovich, 25 Cottontail in Wading River. Cottontail Court. Thank you. Mayor, Board, I'm here this evening to enter into public record that I have yet to be completely paid from my village for the farmers market stipend invoice that was submitted on July 12th, 2023. My last day of employment with the village was July 19th, as I was not reappointed, and since I left, I have sent 4 emails, with my final email sent to the mayor and the board on August 23rd, which I'm going to read into the record today. Dear Mayor Shepro and the Board of Trustees, I am writing to you as a board since to date I have not yet received a response to my past emails to Mayor Shepro regarding my farmers market summer $3,500 stipend monies that I had expected to be fully paid on. In my past 13-plus years with the village, each year I dedicatedly coordinated the setup of the Port Jefferson Farmers Market. My diligent work with the creation of a past administration's vision of a farmers market morphed into an extremely successful market that vendors from all over the island want to participate in and that our residents love. In preparation for each year's market, months before the opening day of the season, I meet with the market manager, prepare the application, send it to all existing summer and winter vendors, field all farmers market phone calls and emails, process the paperwork, their payment, and confirm the accuracy of their insurance. This process starts in February for a May opening. I would visit the market each Sunday as a goodwill ambassador of the village to greet the vendors and check in with the market manager. This year, opening day for the farmers market was May 7th. I have historically received a $3,500 stipend from the village for the setup of a farmers market, which was paid from the farmers market vendor application funds and not taxpayer funds. This year, with the change in administration, I was notified that Mayor Shepro had unilaterally decided to reduce my reimbursement to $1,555.56 without providing me an explanation as to why she reduced the amount. My original invoice was submitted over 6 weeks ago, and my emails were ignored. We're now at 10 weeks. I believe I deserve the full compensation that I have in past practice received, as I once again coordinated a successful 2023 summer farmers market. When I left my employ with the village, there was approximately $50,000 in the farmers market T account, and the revenue from the market far outweighs the amount that was agreed I would be paid. And most recently, I see that Renee Lemmerman is being paid $5,000 additional salary for the setup of the summer and winter market. So basically, for this year, she is being paid for work that I completed and was never paid on. My reputation among the vendors and the market manager has never been a topic of dissatisfaction in the 13 years that I have been doing my job to bring a very successful market to our community and beyond. I encourage you, Mayor Shepro and the board, to reconsider this decision and engage in a dialogue, as I expect fairness, respect, and transparency from this administration, the same way I conduct myself in life. I believe in the spirit of this village, and I hope that it remains a place of justice and community. I expect to be paid the $1,944.44 that is due me for the setup of the farmers market. I did not receive an acknowledgement from the mayor to my email that was dated August 23rd until September 25th. And in that email on September 25th, Mayor Shepro notified me that I should work directly with Clerk Perillo, as she is the point person on business-related matters. I then emailed Clerk Perillo on September 26th, and to date have never received any acknowledgement from her. I do believe this is a board decision, and I respectfully ask that all of you discuss this so that I may receive the monies that I am owed, as the pattern and practice of a farmer's market stipend was paid to me each year it was submitted. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Hi, Zena Ugrinsky, 2 Rosita Lane, Port Jeff. This is more a comment on last week or the last meeting, but I want to welcome Treasurer Gafka. And you may recall that I was up here during some of the budget sessions in May and asking a bunch of questions. And I want to just highlight that the areas of concern that Treasurer Gafka is now focused on are essentially an answer to some of the questions that I had been asking previously. And I just want to say welcome and thank you very much for starting to, focus on sort of process and fiscal responsibility in the village, because that's quite important to me as a resident. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Robinson. We're in public, Mark.
Call me Robbie too, but that's okay. You need that information again? I'd like to know if it's possible to put a light at Thorn Lane. It'll be 4 in a row then.
Anything is possible.
Probable?
I'm not a traffic engineer, so I don't pretend to be one. But we've had a lot of discussion about different roadways, how they intersect in the village. And so there's a lot to think about and consider where traffic safety is concerned. And I like what Officer John responded to you. I think it'll be interesting to see what they come back to you with there. But I understand your concern. The traffic light there is very close to the other traffic light. And the other one.
They're all close.
And the other one. They're all close. So is that something that you really want to talk about, or?
Well, that's only one thing.
Okay.
Well, it's the second thing. I already talked about the first one. Are the residents of Belterre able to use our parking spaces for a fee?
Yes.
Okay.
No, not village resident spaces. Metered spaces, yes.
Okay. I think, again, I'll say this for the 3rd or 4th time.
Mayor, just to clarify, they pay a fee for that?
For a fee, he said.
Yes. I thought he said for free.
Oh, no, for a fee, yes. You said for a fee, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This lot out here should be resident only, not split non-resident and resident.
Behind the tennis courts?
Yeah. It's only an additional 6 or 8 spots for the village residents. But it's kind of a, we'll give it to you because we have so much parking spots now. Across the street at the Barnum lot. Do you pay for that one? I don't think so.
No.
So I think you ought to give the residents the use of the whole thing.
Thank you for your comment.
That's the fourth time I've brought it up.
Uh-oh.
Not that I'm keeping track.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pollock?
This has to do with the parking permits for the people that live in Belter. First of all, Port Jefferson Village, we pay our taxes to the village. And every resident of the village looks that the free parking isn't free. We pay for it in our taxes. I can't for the life of me understand why we are even interested, okay, in letting people from other areas, because it's not going to stop with Belter. As soon as the people of Mount Sinai start, they're going to come. As soon as the people in the Miller Place, they're going to come. And you're going to have a hard time saying no, because we say no, you can have a lawsuit because you already did it, okay, with Belter. Now, is this a pilot program, the way I understand it?
It's presented to take place between September 19th and December 4th.
Okay, now it also said a fee of $25. Is that for the year? Is that for these 2 months, or what is it?
It's for the time frame that we were discussing, September 19th through December 4th.
Through December 4th,
Yeah.
okay. Right, but again, we've always had a parking problem in this village. All right, I was on a comprehensive plan committee for many, many years, okay, and we tried to do as much as we could with the parking. There's nothing that can be done with it, okay? But if the people, and I don't know what would stop them from coming. They come to the village of Port Jefferson because it's convenient. It's on their way out, okay? And I feel as if they should be paying for the parking. And if they can't afford it, well, then they shouldn't be living in Belter, because we don't charge a whole lot of money for the parking.
They are paying for the parking, they're just paying in advance. They're paying in advance.
It's a pilot program. It's a survey. Okay, you're trying to see if it works, if it doesn't work. Is anybody counting the amount of people, first of all, okay, from Belter that have requested this permit, number one?
Yes.
Second of all, number two, all right? I asked Code, how many times, okay, do the scanners go around? He couldn't tell me. Can the program be used to scan how many times these residents of Belter are using the parking? If it's a pilot program, I think these are all questions that we'd like to know the answers to. I would like it. I don't know, you know, I see the expression on your face. You don't think so, but that's okay.
No, that was, you read my face wrong.
Okay.
I was considering what you were saying and how can we figure that out? I don't know, but
Well, we know what their plate is.
we know how many people have signed up for the program.
Okay. but
And we know that they're from Belter when they sign up for the program.
But we also know what their plate number is.
Yes.
Okay, and can the program handle, okay, the scan, that when it hits a Belter plate, okay, it counts it? That's the major question.
We'll see if the technology will accommodate that.
And how many people to date, okay, have requested these permits?
2? 3? 3.
So what are we even getting involved with it for?
Well,
The whole idea a whole idea of a pilot project to see if it's economically makes sense to do. So the village board voted, I believe unanimously, for this.
It was not
one
unanimous.
abstention.
It was not unanimous.
4 to 1.
One dissent. Well, the village board approved the idea of this pilot program to see if it's worth investing more money, more resources into it to determine. So if we get 3, I would guess that the village board may choose not to invest any more time or effort into that program. However, if we get 100 or what was it, 931?
800
Number of residents in Belter, and it becomes economically viable and feasible to invest more resources. That's why you do pilot programs, to get
becomes-
the empirical data to support moving it forward.
If it becomes 800 coming from Belter, you're not going to be able to park anywhere. You'll be walking to work also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Mark?
Good evening. Michael Mart, 205 Bayview Terrace. I want to address two issues, and one of them is parking. I'll begin with that, if I may. To the mayor, thank you, and the trustees. I've been involved with parking in this village since we had a business here on East Main Street for many years, and it was always a problem there. And way back when, I don't even remember the date, they created, we asked to have a parking committee to look into it. And we did, and over a number of years it was studied, and we brought in outsiders to help us deal with the issue, because it's not so much that parking is the problem, it's the problem with turnover. And what happens, every one of the spaces that the village has control over is worth a considerable amount of money to the merchants who rely on that for their customers. And if you don't get turnover, then the program fails. That's why it's called managed parking. And you use metered money, not for income. That will come. You use meters to establish the charge that you need to have, to encourage turnover, to encourage employees who often want to park right where they work, pay less to park there for the whole course than $8 or $9. And we all understand as merchants, and I hope the community, that the employee doesn't pay their salary. The owner of the business doesn't pay their salary. It's the customer. So if there's no turnover, it hurts. We also made it available to the resident, to the merchants, that they could validate parking for their customers, which is it's done all over the country. And it's the means by which the business people and restaurant people can thank their customers for coming. You take $1 or $2 off the bill. We know what it costs to eat. $50, $100. Take a few dollars off the bill. It's tax deductible. So you charge enough money to, again, encourage the hundreds of employees to park elsewhere for free. We provided places on Caroline Avenue. When it first started, if you were a resident of Brookhaven, you could park for free in their Brookhaven lot, just a block or two away from where we work. I could go on. I won't. I just want to say that in order to resolve this for everyone concerned, for all the parties, the residents, the property owners, the business owners, the employees, what happened, is a question, to the parking committee? And if it's not active, can we reinstate it and to make sure that all those interested parties have a place at the table, and that the committee, as it was originally established, met every week, or at that time at the beginning, at a certain hour, and all were welcome? What happened to it?
Well, it went away, right? It was dissolved. But we actually have a committee that's being reestablished under the auspices of the bid.
Okay.
And they're inviting residents to participate.
Right.
So the bid has established a new parking committee.
Well, I would argue strenuously against that. As a merchant, the hardest thing for my fellow merchants to understand was that we had a problem that they couldn't, by their own self-interest, originally see. I understand they've asked for and have been given parking permits for their employees, 2 or 3 per business. That violates the whole concept of managed parking. Managed parking is for turnover. Turnover, turnover, turnover. Brookhaven Town just recently established meters. What do they charge? First, they give us, as residents of the town of Brookhaven, an opportunity to buy permits. For me, it's practically nothing as a senior citizen, $5, $6. For others, I think it's $25 or $35. That's for all of their lots. West Meadow Beach, all of them. They pay $35 a year, let's say 40, okay? What do they charge people who aren't residents?
$350.
No, to park for the day. $4 an hour during the week and $5 an hour during the weekend. What are they saying? They're saying to all of us who are residents of the town of Brookhaven, you paid. We want to make it possible for you to be able to find a spot in all of our lots. You've paid for that. So we charge the others a lot. They're welcome to do it, but it's very expensive. But we're not charging that. We're charging $1 and $1.50. Now, when you are selling the same product, a parking space, and they're almost adjacent to each other, put another, if you're selling beer, one's charging $4, someone charging $1.50, who's going to sell more beer? So I think that's what's happening. It seems to me that the committee, the parking committee, turning it over to the business, they should be on it, but they should not be in charge. They really have to understand the goal that we're trying to achieve here, and it can work. And sometimes you have to think outside the box. You know, people say, well, where are we going to get more parking? Well, we have to look for that. Maybe a garage, barges, any different opportunities that we have. But it's not going to be considered by those who don't devote themselves as a committee to just focus on that. Business people are far too busy with it. Thank you. On that issue.
Okay.
Okay. With regard to short-term rental housing, some people refer to it as Airbnb, as short-term. It's done in people's homes. It's unregulated in this village.
Mr. Mart, I'm just going to, I said for public confidence and discussion of this issue, because I own a bed and breakfast, I'm going to step out for all these conversations, okay?
You can listen.
Oh,
You have a vote. We respect you.
I appreciate
I think
that.
having a bed and breakfast is what we should have here, not individuals renting rooms.
Trustee Cassay
I appreciate
recuses
that.
herself where bed and breakfasts and long-term rentals are being discussed, because there's a conflict of interest there.
It's a choice that I make so that whatever is determined outside of, you know.
It's a
I'm
choice,
sorry-
but
I'm
it's
sorry to-
actually
I'm sorry
an
to chase you-
ethical
I'm sorry to chase you out
requirement.
of the room, Rebecca. But, yeah. This was brought up probably a year and a half or more ago. And the village, this village, came very close to creating a code that would have limited any rentals within homes to 30-day minimum. That rules out most Airbnbs. Now, in other towns, they have done that. In Southold, they've done it. The town of Brookhaven is considering that right now. It's on the board. New York City is getting ready to outlaw Airbnbs, because Airbnbs, or what you call short-term rentals, destabilize a neighborhood. I don't know who's in the house next to me. That house might be bought. I'm sorry?
It was destabilizing New York City's hotel business,
That's right.
too.
Right. And you don't want to know, you don't want your neighborhood to be destabilized with people coming and going, and there's no regulation. The unit has never been inspected. Is it safe? So I encourage you to get back to that. It's really, really important. And people say, well, how do you know that there are Airbnbs here? Well, just go to Airbnb and do 11777. You can't miss it. You know, it's there. And when the town did it, I went to that meeting because I was interested in it. And I've never been to a big town meeting for a public hearing. It was absolutely jammed. And to show you how complicated and involved this is, this was on their proposal to limit Airbnbs. People came in, you can't take my Airbnb away. And they were saying, excuse me, you're not allowed to have it. We have what are called in this village and in the town permissive codes. So you only get to do that which is permitted without, and you can't just do things that you want because it's disallowed. And the people were saying, but you can't take it away. And they said, don't give us your name and number at this point. And part of the problem was, it's really serious in the town of Brookhaven, and even here, if there's an issue in the Airbnb, in my neighborhood and other neighborhoods, who do you call? We don't have a police force. There's nothing in the code. You have to call Suffolk Police. They don't know about it. So Brookhaven had the same problem, and they were getting call after call after call. That's a huge 500,000 residents when issues came up. And they have no police force, but they were blamed for doing it. So let's protect ourselves, let's protect our neighborhoods, and make it better. Are you working on it now?
It's on the list.
Thank you very much.
Bruce Miller?
Okay. All right, so I wanted to report on a couple of things. I had, yesterday I went to Larchmont for a meeting, the annual meeting of the Save the Sound Committee. And they're getting more active on Long Island. Their largest project now is Sunken Meadow, 135 acres. We're talking about salt marshes and tidal flow. The quality of water, I am happy to report, in this part of Long Island Sound is excellent. Port Jefferson Harbor, not excellent. There are 5 indices, and we only did poorly in one, which was eelgrass, which is important for wildlife fish habitat. The second area of discussion pertains to the Long Island Railroad and Lawrence Aviation. And I want to thank Mayor Shepro, Mr. Biondo, and Ms. Urginski for meeting with me and discussing this issue. We have comment from the Long Island Railroad regarding this issue. My rebuttal to their comment would be that what they're suggesting they want to do, which is double track the Long Island Railroad on the Port Jefferson line and electrify it, is not financially possible. So therefore it becomes an excuse not to do anything. And there was an article in Newsday last Friday, I believe, and there was also comment on this issue by the Port Jefferson Record, this and the Lawrence Aviation site. And there's a responsibility that the Long Island Railroad, the MTA, have towards the communities. One, towards the state. The state law requires that we have green energy as a priority, The Long Island Railroad, prior to COVID, wanted to re-outfit the entire line with diesel engines. Their priority is not in this direction. The Lawrence Aviation site, moving the station and the rail yards to Lawrence Aviation, eliminates 2 grade level crossings. It also eliminates 2 rickety bridges. One of these is to be repaired by the Long Island Railroad at significant expense. So the expense is not necessary, in my opinion. We need to move the station. Another issue with regards to the Lawrence Aviation site is there are environmental issues there, and they're going to be discussed, I believe, on October 6th at our village center. But I don't think they're going to discuss much regarding the railroad priorities themselves.
Yeah. But Bruce, just a point of information, October 4th, and I appreciate you bringing that up for the public. Yes,
Thank
it's sort of, there's no formal presentation, but folks can go down and ask questions.
Thank you. It's in here somewhere.
Excellent.
So, the Long Island Railroad and the MTA have an opportunity here. There's also alternatives. There is the possibility of battery-powered electricity, which they have toyed with in regards to the Oyster Bay branch. But they haven't considered the possibility of an energy car, a caboose, at the end of this thing that gets transferred at Huntington and Port Jefferson that would permit a single-seat ride into Manhattan. My thing is swap the energy car, not the riders, because we have to get out of one train at Huntington and move to another train, and vice versa on the way back. There's other forms of transportation. Siemens is working, they will be putting a rail line into effect in Germany running on hydrogen. The trains get over 700 miles for their run. So there's a lot of opportunities here. I just doubt that the MTA is thinking seriously about them. And I believe we're on the side of the tide of history here, that the New York law requires green energy. Green energy is not trains coming out of Ronkonkoma where Port Jefferson line riders are traveling to the Ronkonkoma line in cars, not green, to ride, and diesels are still propelling vehicles in Port Jefferson on this line. There's also large parking garages and asphalt there that is also problematic and getting larger. I'm even asking myself, is there really an issue that they're trying to get rid of the line completely? There used to be a line that went past Port Jefferson. That doesn't exist. When we look at, is it feasible to electrify, the double tracking issue is a deal breaker. It's just too expensive. They have to acquire land through eminent domain. It's just not happening. They suggest that that's what they want to do, but it's clearly not happening. And we need to call them on this. The time is now. If things don't happen soon, they don't happen for a very long time. So,
Okay, Bruce, is that your only topic today? Because I'll give you a little information about that. Is that your only topic for today?
Yeah.
I just want to say, you've been ahead of your time on this issue for a very long time. So kudos to you on that. It has been something that is now really elevating up on the level of attention around the state, and especially in our district. I signed on to a letter by Senator Anthony Palumbo, authored by Anthony Palumbo, to the governor, urging, and that was dated September 29th, and I entered it into the record with the clerk today. So it's urging the MTA to consider the electrification of the Port Jefferson line in its 20-year plan, and to modernize the line coming from Port Jefferson to Huntington. So that is for the MTA's 20-year needs assessment plan, which we talked about the other day. Port Jefferson, the Port Jeff line is in that current list of assessment planning options, but this letter, signed on by about 30 elected officials from around our region, including Assemblyman, the Senator, Supervisor Romaine, and Suffolk County legislators, all, and indeed Adrian Esposito signed on to this letter as well, Mike Florio. And so it's something that's on a lot of people's radar right now, and especially as the land bank is being discussed, and the Suffolk County Land Bank, which is the Lawrence, looking at the Lawrence Aviation property, is being discussed and considered. So thank you for keeping it on the forefront of our agenda and of our attention, and congratulations to you, because you really have been an advocate for this.
Thank you. I'm just saying pressure is required. We've had a lot of events. I attended one a few years ago with the local assemblyman and Romaine also.
Nobody can hear you if you're sitting there and talking, but it understood. But you need to speak into the microphone, Bruce. They can't hear. They can hear you in the room. They just can't hear you on live stream.
Okay. Apologies. So basically what I'm saying is we need to apply pressure. They've done, I believe that the MTA believes that there'll be a fuss, there'll be letters written, and that will go away. And again, I believe the tide is with us here. There are state laws that we're going to lose a power plant in a very significant probability because it's not green. And so the green energy is available, not the way they plan to do it, not the double tracking, maybe side tracking occasionally throughout the system.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Bruce.
just as a trustee, Bruce, if there's any opportunities that you'd like the elected officials here in the village to know about, any of us to give an opportunity to attend and listen and learn, and please just email them along. You have all of our emails. Okay. Thank you.
Suzette Smukler.
Okay, I'm sorry that Mark Robinson has already left. I'm first going to make a comment. I've only been coming to these meetings regularly for, let's say, the last 5 months, and I've learned a great deal. I have to look into how do you get a traffic study, how you get a speed gun, whether or not a light goes in or not. I'm not educated enough tonight to start in with that, but I'm going to give Mark a run for his money. What I really came here to say is to make a suggestion. First of all, Ms. Sabatino was making the comment, how do I know when the public meeting is? I think maybe you all need to change your reference and work around the public and have your executive session around that. Pick a time so that people know when it is. My opinion, you can do what you want with that. Just like my second opinion is, how do you have a public meeting at 5 or 6 o'clock at night? It's really very uninviting to your whole public. Who's coming home from work? Who has kids in school that they're picking up? If you look at the people in this room, it's the same people, because they know how to work around you. The suggestion to this lady was, on the Friday night before the meeting, check the website for when the public speaks. I think you need to pick a time, and I'm going to be so bold as to say maybe it's 7 o'clock. you'll get, I believe, a greater hospitality invitation to the whole village. And it's my suggestions, maybe not anybody else's thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Another shot at the, come on, let's go. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
First one's a quick one. We have the worst railroad crossing tracks in all of Long Island for the car to drive over. You drive over the one on Main Street, you drive over the one on Columbia, your teeth rattle, your eyeballs shake, and everything. We've been after, we started maybe 6, 7 years ago, maybe longer than that, okay, writing letters and talking with the MTA about it, and it's fallen on deaf ears. Okay, so maybe this administration might have some better luck, okay, at doing that, because you go over them all the time. And a lot of people will go down to Crystal Brook, okay, to avoid it. The other thing, Crystal Brook Hollow Road, who is responsible? Is that town of Brookhaven? Is half of it Port Jeff Village? Or is it all village? Or is it all town of Brookhaven?
Half is Port Jefferson and half is Mount Sinai, so that's Brookhaven.
So we're responsible for our half.
Correct.
Well, why don't somebody go out there? Why don't the highway department go out there?
Which part of Crystal Brook Hollow Road are you talking about? Are you between
let's say, well,
between North Country Road
and Winston?
So at the point where Old Post Road catches up with what becomes Winston, that still is Crystal Brook Hollow Road. I've been told that section of roadway between Old Post Road and Oakwood Road is Brookhaven Town.
Okay, because I know at one time it was we're half, they're half, and another time it was all theirs. That's why I'm asking, because somebody's got to take care of that sand.
They clean that up. They clean that sand debris, that sand.
It's been that way. It's been that way for the last 2 months.
After every storm, it repopulates. They clean it.
I disagree with you, but we can agree to disagree. Nobody has done anything to remove that sand. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
We do disagree. I drive that road almost every day.
I do also.
Okay.
So we can agree to disagree. Okay. Okay, there was one more. There was one more, but I forgot it, and I've taken a lot of time, and I appreciate the
Thank you.
consideration. Thank you.
Gail Sternberg?
I'm Gail Sternberg, 207 Owasco Drive, Port Jeff. I just want to say I am in favor of Belterre having some kind of flat rate. I'm in retailing. My family's in retail. We have several stores. And it's increasingly difficult to fill stores. I mean, we had the Gap empty for a while. And anything that would help the business district helps Port Jeff look better. I mean, these people are struggling. We're basically a tourist town. If in off-season, they have people in Belterre that are local. And we do share a school district with them. It's not like we're choosing Mount Sinai or somebody else. We have things in common with them. They're very close by. And there's businesses down here that don't lend themselves even to tourists. The florists, the hairdressers. How many people go on vacation and decide to book a hairdresser? Or buy dog food, or some of the other businesses down here. So I actually think it is a good idea if we try to include them, make it more inclusive. It's just annoying, I think, for a lot of people to have to look for a parking space and then pay. And I think it would encourage more business downtown, especially in the off-season. And how many residents are there? 800 or something in Belterre? I don't see them going to be crowding down here. But I think in this day and age with the internet, it's really hard to keep retail stores open. And you see empties all over Suffolk County, empty stores all over. And I think to help encourage business in town, we should be encouraging this. I think it's a good idea. Oh, and also, what the appointee said about the prime real estate parking shouldn't be for people that work there. Even in our business, we tell the people that work there, park in the back or park further away and leave the good spots. So that could be just told. Park someplace further away and let the good spots be for people that are in retailing. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments tonight? Going once? All right, thank you. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is to go into staff reports. And so we'd like to invite Treasurer Gafka to start tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Board, public. I want to focus on, as you all know, I've been here about 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. I've really taken my time to look at the capital fund as a main topic for my analysis and trying to untangle.
And for the public, what does the capital fund represent?
So the capital fund is the recording fund for all of the major capital additions and projects that Port Jeff does as a village. It's the paving projects, it's the East Beach bluff repair, it's purchasing major equipment, it's buildings, it's parking lots, it's sidewalks. Anything that you put a significant amount of capital money into and that has a period life of greater than 5 years is considered a capital asset. So that gets recorded in what we call the H fund. I recently released the financials for August, I believe, or July, excuse me, July, to the clerk's office so that they're posted online and you can see some of the line items that have the H designation as the capital fund. One of the problems with the capital fund is that it's kind of difficult to record. You have to take money from your general fund and move it into your capital fund. What I've had trouble with and what has been difficult with the capital fund is that it hasn't quite been smooth transition in the recording and the budgeting of some of these expenses. And what that has led me to find out via the 2022 audit from Cullen and Danowski is that there is a negative fund balance with the capital fund. Basically, it means that more money's been spent that has been put into it. And the big problem with that is that that has an effect on your other funds. It has an effect on Country Club. It has an effect on your general fund. So one of the things that I'm trying to untangle is how can I fix it? How can we get it to a clean slate where we can accurately depict where our expenses are, what flow revenue is coming in, how each project is going to be funded. I think that that's something that going forward, if we make it clear, the public will understand better how each project is being funded, whether it's from bond money, whether it's from grants, whether it's from transfers from the general fund. So with that in mind, one of my recommendations would be that the board and the village as a whole should think about severely cutting back on its discretionary capital spending and to attempt to just do things deemed critical or things that are completely funded with grant monies or in-kind type of help from other entities to help pay for some of these big projects. There needs to be a rebuilding of the fund balance for some of these funds. You can look around and there's a lot that has been done with that money. But I think it's time, looking at what I've seen in my 3 weeks, to pull back a little bit, to try and replenish some of those funds, to reestablish a working fund so that you don't have to borrow money all the time. If you have a sufficient capital reserve, you can use that towards your projects where then you don't need to borrow money, and you can, if it's with grant funds or 50-50 match, you can get those funds back and put it right back in.
So wait, what you're saying is if you don't have it, don't spend it?
Yes.
I like that.
So
does government even work like that?
So that has been kind of what I focused a lot of my energy on. I think that I can come up with a pretty good plan once I have it all untangled, and I plan on meeting with our auditors to see what some of their suggestions are. I do not have the 2023 audit report yet. I'm looking to try and get a head start on that. I'm not expecting anything to change with the fund balance. If anything, it could get worse for after the next audit, but it can get fixed. It's not, it is something that is fixable.
We have a lot of projects as well that we've borrowed and have grant funding anticipated to come in to help us to pay off.
Yes.
So, I mean, I sort of made a joke, but we're in a serious situation where we are spending money so that we can get money back. Correct?
Yes.
We're paying contractors and we're getting projects done so that we can get the grant funding that's been designated and promised back and get it paid back so that we can replenish some of that capital.
Yes, and there's a significant amount of grant money that's out there, but part of the problem is that free money takes a long time to try and pull it from the entities that are giving it to you. The state, the federal government, takes a long time to get reimbursed. So working with the clerk's office and our grant coordinators that we have here, we're going to really try and apply some pressure and get that money back that's due to us, because some of these projects have been completed. So it would be nice to refill the coffers, so to speak, to be able to get that money in and to start looking to plan a more healthy, robust capital budget where you're not having to borrow money all the time, because there's a significant amount of debt that the village is carrying.
So to be clear, when the monies come back in from the grant projects that have been completed or near completed, where are those monies going into?
Those monies would be going back into the capital fund.
And so that would be replenishing the fund that you're currently concerned about?
Not necessarily. We already have it booked as anticipated revenue. There are liabilities that are held on the books, so we are expecting that money. It's already booked. It'll help cash-wise. It'll help be able to have the cash to be able to afford any kind of big projects or if anything major came along. But the fund balance issue really is about increasing the revenue and putting reserves aside and not spending as much money.
Interesting. Any other questions? Thank you.
Where else would that money come from to replenish it?
I'm sorry. Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. I didn't know where it was coming from. I've gotten it before.
Okay. So where would that money come from?
Kim, Ms. Delman, can you shoot us an email? Well, thank you. Okay. Next on staff reports is Clerk Perillo.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, residents who stayed. Thank you very much. I'll be as brief as possible. I'm going to just update everyone on changes that have been made recently, and recently I mean this quarter since I started. First and foremost, one of the most important resources that we have for information is our agenda, and we've touched on the agenda a few times this evening. So in terms of content, we have been striving to make that content more comprehensive and more extensive so that everyone is aware of what the board will be voting on and what the business is of the village for the residents. That's first and foremost. Secondarily, if you've noticed, we have added attachments to the agenda for the public. That started last meeting. Those attachments have been added to both the website version and the hard copy versions. And we've also tried to make the agenda easier to read physically. And in addition to that, one of the things that we've done is add a numbering system to the resolutions, which seems like something small and minuscule, yet it makes the agenda easier to search for the public, for any board members that need information, for example, the treasurer's office, because many times we look back on resolutions and we need to substantiate requests for funding for the treasurer's office. And we do work, of course, very closely together. So I just wanted to touch on the agenda for that brief moment. Another thing we've done is add full bid RFP and RFQ packages to our website. And by full, I mean all the words, contracts, requirements that are necessary, and including drawings, specifications, schematics. This eliminates the need for a potential proposer to actually come into Village Hall and pick up hard copy documents at a fee. Of course, anyone is welcome to do that if they prefer, but if not, in this age of technology, we have everything available. And I have also been using a service called the New York State Contract Reporter, and that allows us to input our information for what we're looking for our various proposals, bids, and requests for quotations. And we use the service so that this way we expand our search. Instead of just, for example, putting something in the paper, which is perfect because it leads us to our locals, okay? This also expands the search so that we have more proposals and more quotes that come in. We've been working very heavily with civil service, and we've been working very effectively and very quickly with civil service to create new positions or to staff positions. There are various departments in the village where assistance is sorely needed, and we have been working very effectively, and my deputy has been helping with that as well, so we thank her for that. We've reinstituted mandatory annual training for all our employees, and that annual training will be taking place this month. We've sat in on meetings with insurance brokers, our insurance broker, in addition to the treasurer's office as well. We've reviewed the policies that we currently have. We have checked on pricing of those policies, and we've reviewed with the broker any possibilities for discounts or reductions in the next upcoming cycle. So the treasurer's office and the clerk's office are working very closely on that, and we wanted to let everyone know that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And that's just about 1/10 of everything that you do, right?
Yes.
So appreciate
Yes.
that
But
report.
for the moment, I wanted to keep it brief. Thank you.
Any questions for the clerk? Okay. Okay. We have our municipal parking administrator on the staff report agenda, but he's a little under the weather, so we're going to give him a pass today. All right. Anything in writing, Kevin, you certainly can provide that to us if you like. Thank you for being here. So we'd like to start with our board member reports, and leading off with Trustee Tribbiando.
Before I go into the ethics code, there's a couple of things I'd like to update folks on. One, Conifer 2, there's going to be a planning board work session on October 12th, so if you want to learn more about that, and we'll certainly report back here after that work session. Earlier in the meeting, I believe we spoke about crossing guards up at Scraggy Hill. I know Trustee Laux met with the school superintendent, and I think I saw an email where they said that the process of getting a crossing guard was a lengthy one. The mayor, I've been working with her. She asked me if I had any contacts, and we've gone back and forth. I think we might be able to, if not get a crossing guard immediately, get some coverage up there as to the speeding and things like that. I've gone to Ed Romaine's name, Supervisor Romaine's office, who's been very helpful, and they've contacted someone in higher up, and we're working on that. I was expecting an answer today. Hopefully I was going to report something to you, but I didn't get it, and I'll be checking up on that tomorrow. Just a community matter, I know there were people here at previous meetings and one hearing, I think, up on Hoyt Street. Is it Hoyt Avenue? Hoyt Lane. It backs up to Northville and National Grid, and Northville had been doing a lot of work, and suddenly they decided to cut the lawn at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning, which, as you can imagine, is not the most community-friendly thing to do. But we've made contact with Northville. The folks there are in contact with them themselves, so that Northville has promised to call their contractor and fix up what's going on there, so that they are not woken up by that noise anymore. And also, there's been some issues with the noise coming out of the plant, I believe, and we're working on getting them a contact with Grid so that they can possibly resolve that. Now on to the ethics issue. One of the things that the mayor said that she would do is introduce a comprehensive ethics code. We have a draft that was given to us by the Ethics Council that each of us has been looking at, and I urge my colleagues to please forward your comments. We want to get them to council, and one of the things that we will then do is have council, I think we discussed this, present to you in public about what this code is about and why do we need this. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that when I first got this job, I've been in government a long time, and some of the things I'm hearing, seeing, learning about, my hair was black, I think, when I started this. And I am upset, and I joke about it by calling it a dumpster fire in a clown car driving off a cliff. But some of the things I've seen, I don't think should be happening in government. And I'm not going to go into fine detail because I think that at some point it might have to go to a higher authority, I don't know, and I want to have all my facts. But I'll give you just an example. Employees who work for the government as exempt employees being paid stipends to do the job that they're employed to do. You can't do that. I think it's against the municipal law, but I'll leave that to the lawyers and I'll leave that to the ethicists. But in my experience in government, and I've signed a lot of these ethics rules and filled out a lot of them, it's not something you can do. And the government was paying bills with no contracts on just invoices, and some people were saying, coming to me and said, I've never seen a business where they didn't have RFPs. We're implementing that process now. I think our treasurer was being kind when he described what he's seeing in his 3 weeks, because I think he's going to be bald at the end of this. And in my conversations with the mayor, I said, you know, this gives me a stomach ache. 10 or 14 years of audits that are addressed to the Board of Trustees that were never given to the Board of Trustees and never reported to the public? That's unconscionable. You're supposed to be able to come into this building and see it, read it, ask questions about it. Never happened. They did send it to the controller as required by law, but it was never publicly noticed in the weekly newspaper. That's unconscionable. That's unconscionable. And that's what this is going to resolve and stop. And I hope that each of you will come when this is presented and ready to go and listen to what's going on. Because I think what I'm also going to do is present resolutions calling out the old behavior, resolving never to do it again, and making sure that every employee of this government understands what's expected of them. Because I don't think they did. We had one presentation by the ethics lawyer, and I was shocked to learn that not many people understood that as a government employee, you're not supposed to accept gifts from people that the village does business with. Now, I can excuse a little bit of it because they were never told. In the business world, that's a common practice. In government, you can't do it. You can accept a gift up to $75, but part of what the ethics law also says, if it doesn't look good, you probably shouldn't do it. And my practice has been, and I'm not going to expect everybody to do what I do, I've never accepted a gift as part of government. I remember early in my career working in government and getting Christmas time getting gifts, and I would say, what do I do with this? And then having to call the person, explain I can't really take it, and having to give it back. So that's what we're hoping to do, making our government transparent, responsible, and having everyone understand the rules of what they can and cannot do. I'm sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
Thank you, Drew. That was not easy, I understand, but I appreciate it.
Here comes the hate.
Thank you again. Trustee Cassay.
Can we get that animated about backyard composting? Yes. Yes. Come on. All right. So this Wednesday at 5:30, there's a free program for anyone to come down to the Beach Street Garden and talk about backyard composting. There's composting in suburban residential areas can be tricky. We don't have a lot of land. You could attract critters. And so we're going to talk about ways that you can compost your food waste, your yard clippings in a responsible way for your own home and your neighbors, and then get that nice black gold, the compost, out of it. So come on down, Beach Street Garden, 5:30 till sunset, essentially 6:30, which I hate saying that 6:30 is sunset time already, but here we are, and hope to see you there. The Conservation Advisory Council is currently drafting up a calendar of timely tips for homeowners to present to the mayor and staff in hopes of having a way to send these messages out to residents, ways that it's easy ways for homeowners to be a little bit more green. We have these larger scale projects like the LIRR and the power plant, but there's things that each of us can be doing. So the CAC is looking to organize around that and offer those to our residents as helpful tips. The newly formed Port Jefferson Tree Committee has collaborated with the Port Jefferson Village Parks Department and the Port Jefferson Chamber of Commerce on a grant collaboration. The grant is a PSEG grant that the Chamber allowed the Village Tree Committee to engage in. And so we were able to get 7 new trees throughout the village's 2 commercial districts. So a couple of the trees are going uptown and a handful of them downtown. You'll see, if you see Dave from Parks and his staff planting those this week, please stop and say thank you. And we look forward to sharing sort of photos and reports on where they went, how they're looking, and how they're going to help in this greater stormwater issue, as well as beautification and ecological responsibility. So that's my report.
Thank you. Trustee Giuliano.
Thank you, and I'm excited about composting, so.
Thank you.
I'm excited about ethics.
Yes. Should be beyond excited about that, but yes. Okay, my report. Next Saturday, is the next sit-down, October 7th, over at the Village Center from 9 to 10:30, second floor of Village Center. Last month, I met with about about 7 or 8 people to discuss various issues, and I'm looking forward to doing the same. So Saturday, October 7th, from 9 to 10:30, over at the Village Center. If you have something you want to discuss, for those at home, if you couldn't come to the meeting, you wanted to discuss something with me, feel free to meet me over at the Village Center. Report from the parks. Beaches are now closed to swimming. There's no lifeguards on duty. They closed down since, they've been pulled since Labor Day. The Parks Department has placed the Port Pink banners. I'm sure you've all seen them throughout the village, and the lights on the street signs to stress awareness of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Next up, we'll be preparing, and I know you're going to hate this, but they'll be preparing for Christmas. Once those lights come down, then they'll be getting ready for Christmas decorations. Christmas will be here before we know it, so they'll be taking care of that. And as Rebecca mentioned, they're working with Rebecca to plant the trees in the locations that are specified. DPW, Barbara, and I'll give you the dates. I'll give you this as soon as I'm done with the report. I'll give you this.
He was holding back. He had the information.
I was waiting for my
right
report,
there.
building up the anticipation.
Buried the lead.
This is the flyer. Now I'm going to forward it over to Sylvia tomorrow to make sure that we can get it onto the website. But just to let you know, and I think it's the same as it was for 2022. The west side of the village will be picked up between October 23rd and 27th, and the west side meaning from the Setauket line to the west side of Main Street. Midtown will be October 30th through November 3rd, and that's from the east side of Main Street to the west side of Belterre Road. And the east side of the village will be picked up from November 6th through November 13th, and that's from the east side of Belterre Road to the east side or to the village boundary going east. It's general branch pickup You don't need to bundle it. After November 13th, branches must be tied up in 4-foot bundles. The next branch pickup will be in April 2024. They cannot pick up branches that have fallen. What we can pick up is, tree branches that have fallen or trimmed and small brush. The following will not be picked up, and loose leaves, grass, tree logs, tree trunks, and tree stumps. And again, Barbara, you can have this, and then I'll send a copy over to Sylvia to make sure that we have it on the website. Other items at DPW, Mather Hospital, the light, if you've all seen it, I'm sure the blinking light is going, and that light will be activated this week, probably tomorrow, but sometime this week the light will be working. There was a little issue with the lines that were painted and lane changes, and that's being investigated and addressed by Mather Hospital and Mather Hospital engineers, and it will be corrected as needed. Items from the Conservancy. The Conservancies are looking to raise funds for the roof over the Jill Neese Russell stage at the eastern end of the Jean Garant Harborfront Park. Andrew Thomas, a local architect and spouse of Rebecca, has volunteered his talents and is working with the group to choose a design and develop a budget for that. We had a successful hill climb event on Saturday. Unfortunately, it rained, so there were not as many cars that had signed up. We had signed up over 50 cars, and about a dozen showed up. But the dozen that did come made it up the hill successfully, and the mayor did a great job announcing the cars that were coming. And we look forward to that event next year, and hopefully we'll have nicer weather for it.
How many registration expiration tickets were issued?
That's a good question. I don't know.
0.
We need Andy.
None. But they were all very old cars, so.
And another event that was held in the past for when it was a good day, good weather rather, the Culper Spy Day, September 9th. Drow Meadow Cottage was open. They had almost 400 visitors for the event. And if you haven't been to the museum, I suggest please go down there. It's a very educational exhibit, and it depicts the role of Port Jefferson and the role that Port Jefferson played in the Culper Spy Ring and in the American Revolution. So a lot of people think that it never came out this far, that it stayed in Setauket, but right through investigations, we proved that Port Jefferson did play a very large role in the Culper Spy Ring. And I got to say, I took the tour, and your son, he probably could have gone on for another 3 hours about it, talking about it, and it was just so entertaining and so educational, and and I'm a history buff, and things that I did not know about was just fantastic. And I encourage everybody should go down there and take a look at that museum. A couple of dates to remember. Harvest Fest, as was talked about, is October 21st. And again, getting into Christmas, Dickens Festival will be the first weekend in December. The Conservancy is sponsoring a family scavenger hunt in 2024, so April 13th of 2024. They're looking to have a tall ship cocktail party fundraiser to fund the roof that they want to put up over the stage. That's scheduled for May 4th. Full dates and information about these events will be on the Village website. So if you check back with that, you'll be able to get that information. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Giuliano. Did you have one other thing to add?
I just wanted to, something I failed to mention to my colleagues as part of the ethics reporting, if it's adopted in this form, is there's extensive financial reporting requirements. They look onerous, but they are actually quite simple. I've done it about 15 times for various governments, agencies I've been involved with. I think, I'm not sure on this one, there are provisions that they are not posted online. If someone wants to look at them, they foil them and then they're provided, and any personal identifiable information is redacted. Yeah. Thank you.
I've filled those out annually too as an
There you
employee
go.
of the university.
Yeah.
Yep, it's it's easy, very easy to do. Thank you and your role as our liaison for policy, because this is just one point of policy. There will be many others as we move forward, and I just thank you for your expertise on that.
And thank you to all of you who show up, because this is your government, and it runs because not only are you participating in your government, you're a little bit of a watchdog too. You ask questions. You point things out, and that's important. And I'm grateful that it's also streamed, because people can then go back and watch it. And if they have questions, they could email it. So thank you for coming out on these nights and listening to all of this government in operation. And a lot of it is very dry, because we're just kind of approving some stuff that we've all reviewed. But this is your government, and I want to, and we want to represent you as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. My report, I'll try and be brief. I just wanted to let the public know that we have uploaded the work of Trustee Cassay, Biondo, and myself onto our website in the form of a volunteer recruitment page that consists of an opportunity for village residents to volunteer in different capacities in the village. There are 20 different categories right now that exist on the website. So take a look at it. It's www.portjeff.com/volunteer. Not too difficult. And it's pretty easy to go through and take a look at the different boards, councils, and committees that are available, and would be seeking some support from members of the community, because your participation is what makes our government better. So your points of view and your time and your talent are not taken for granted. So this is a public shout out to the community to please help us and participate, get involved. We're also in the very early planning stages of a 60th anniversary celebration for the incorporation of Port Jefferson Village. And it is scheduled for an event that we're having on December 12th at the Village Center, starting at 5:30. I hope that's not too early for some of people who don't get off of work until 7 o'clock. Just kidding. It's a Tuesday night. Again, beginning at 5:30, cocktail reception, with an event scheduled to occur after that with just recollections and memories taken through photographs, video, and storytelling of the since the incorporation. And so the village was incorporated. The vote occurred in 1962, and it was ratified and codified in 1963. And so this is our last chance. I've mentioned this in previous meetings, but this is really our last chance to celebrate that 60th anniversary. And we're really looking at, and we have a plenary group that's been meeting a couple of times. It includes members of the Historical Society, as well as our village historian, Chris Ryan. Trustee Giuliano has been participating in these conversations, as have Mark Sternberg, who's a world-renowned historian in our world, and myself and our clerk. Did I get everybody? Kevin Wood. Yes, and so we're looking for volunteers to participate and this is on the volunteer website as part of the steering committee. So anyone that's interested, including the other trustees that are sitting here, we welcome your input and your participation and contributions. And so also on the website, I believe we have a location where you can respond and call. There's also a phone number that's taking feedback and collecting people who are interested to see what type of information is available. We have a lot of archives that we are able to utilize for telling these stories, but really we want people to tell the story. So we want sort of an oral history of each decade and a representation of each decade, the most important, maybe most significant milestone memories of what has happened to make Port Jefferson the great village that it is and has become over the past 60 years. So take a look at the website for that information too. It'll also be posted prominently on our social media channels.
Yeah, Mayor, just to clarify, I saw someone somewhere on social media saying, send items in, send in pictures, or is there a set email address? Is that going to become more clear as?
Yes, the email address is 60years@portjeff.com.
Okay, great. And so is that something if a resident had a photo or a little thing they wanted to write?
Yes,
Whatever
the best thing is to send an email and let our team know what's available and have a conversation about it maybe and see what comes out of that. So there's going to be an intake process of information and interest from people who want to get involved. And by the way, there will be a slight entry donation requested for the event. I think we've landed on $35 per person, $60 in recognition of 60 years for a couple, for two. And that proceeds from that will go to the 1776 wellboat build project. So they're looking to raise funds to continue the work that they're doing to build the wellboat model from 1776, from the Revolutionary War time frame, the type that the spy ring utilized during the Revolutionary War. So the village is committed to helping with this, and we're looking at a resolution later on in the meeting, not too much later, pretty close, almost momentarily, right? We're going to talk about that MOU. So that, and I also wanted to mention, because I don't know, we won't have another meeting between now and then, but the school district has a big weekend coming up, their homecoming weekend for Port Jeff Union Free School District. October 13th is the parade that's taking place at 7 o'clock down Main Street. I think the theme is Light Up the Night, and so the floats will have some sort of light theme activity there. The decorations will have that sort of theme, so that's going to be kind of pretty. And then the next morning, on Saturday morning, is the Royal Educational Foundation's Fun Run, starting at the Village Center. I believe the registration begins at 7:30, maybe around there. Check it out on the website. And after that, they're all gathering at the bowl, the high school bowl, after which there will be a softball game, an alumni softball game, if there's enough people who sign up. And then that day is the football game. And then there's a dance that none of us are invited to, so who cares? But anyway, it's for the, obviously it's for the students. So anyway, I just wanted not to let the night pass without mentioning that, and that should be a pretty festive weekend. Yeah, and so that does it for my report. And so now I guess we'll get started with the resolutions. Yes, Clerk Perillo?
Thank you. There is a resolution number 9 as a result of the executive session. So resolution numbers will be 03 to 10 as follows. Resolution number 03, 100223, resolution approving the minutes of the September 18th, 2023 Village of Port Jefferson Board of Trustees meeting. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution number 04, 100223, resolution approving the lease agreement between the Village of Port Jefferson and the trustees of the freeholders and commonalty of the town of Brookhaven for the lease of Centennial Park at a rental fee to the Village of Port Jefferson of $1 per year, and further authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign the lease agreement. May I have a motion?
I think we could have bargained a little harder on that one.
I just want to state for the board's edification that the license agreement has been the legal sufficiency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, motion?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Just a little bit of discussion about this, the use of this property as it's been. So the property was originally designated as the Edward G. Acker Park on November 13th, 1973, the same day as the resolution by the town of Brookhaven regarding recommended ways to develop the park for use of the residents of the town of Brookhaven. The renewed successful collaboration and strong relationship with the town and the supervisor is very beneficial to the residents who use this park. Current uses include the Port Jefferson Rowing Club, a very competitive rowing club, which helps some of our high school students and the participants go off to scholarship opportunities at colleges and universities. Village residents keep kayaks there. It's a dog park, as we've heard, even though dogs should be on leashes. And we obviously we utilize the beach is utilized heavily for walking, kids camp, senior walking camp, and also for free parking down there. Since Port Jeff has a rich maritime history, it's very fitting that we are here with this beautiful water view to acknowledge and celebrate our mutual commitment and access to beach property. So, with proximity to the Harborfront Park and home to the uber popular farmers market, our venue for movie nights, the ice skating rink and village center, Centennial Park will continue to be a vital venue for years to come in the village of Port Jefferson. So this, there is a parcel of this property also that will be dedicated in coming months to the Acker family, which originally donated this property to the town of Brookhaven. So, just wanted to thank the supervisor and Councilman Kornreich for their support and their advocacy for bringing this new license agreement back into play. It is a 10-year with 5 years and another 5 years duration option. So we're looking at 20 years for how much? $1 a year? Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. I think I can. I have $20 right now. I can.
The treasurer just told us we had to pull back on spending.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So, any further discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Trustee Biondo. Resolution number 05100223. Resolution authorizing the Village of Port Jefferson Village Court to apply for a JCAP, Justice Court Assistance Program grant, in the 2023-2024 grant cycle for an amount not to exceed $30,000 total. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Any discussion on this?
Question. So is that 30,000 matching? So the village would be paying 15?
No.
No.
Those are
No, it's a straight
100%
grant.
grants.
It's 100%.
Thank you. Perfect.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution number.
Oh, please do.
Normally get to respond from the audience after you've made your reports. You're now doing village business. If it would be possible for us to respond to what we heard.
No.
Am I out of order?
Yes, completely.
Hearing for these issues, right?
Absolutely out of
We
order.
don't get to discuss them. So just
It is a point of order. We did open up the public session to happen in front of the meeting so that, people could get their comments in up front.
understand, but to ask questions of what was reported on your reports was always the second part of the meeting. Some chose to stay, some chose not to. I'm just asking.
We'll stick around for conversation after, if that's okay. I'm fine with it. But it's a point of order that is,
I think the way it used to be is we would do our reports, and then there would be public comment, which would sometimes be questions about what we reported on, and sometimes be just.
and then that forced people to stick around for the public comment. That forced people to stick around for the reports. So it's a work in progress, so.
Maybe we can work that out in
Yeah.
the future.
I mean, you're doing business now.
Yeah.
Which would be in the business meeting, not the money. I'll wait.
Okay.
Resolution number 06100223, resolution ratifying the hiring of David Gumbus as a seasonal laborer at the Port Jefferson Country Club as recommended by Pat Sullivan at an hourly wage rate of $20 per hour, effective September 15th, 2023. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 07100223, resolution ratifying the hiring of Daniel Brett as a seasonal outside staff laborer at the Port Jefferson Country Club, as recommended by Jake Anderson at an hourly wage rate of $16 per hour, effective September 18th, 2023. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 08100223, resolution approving by the Village of Port Jefferson Board of Trustees the attached memorandum of understanding between the Village of Port Jefferson and Long Island Seaport and Eco Center, Inc., LISEC, regarding the construction of a historically accurate wellboat, noting that the memorandum of understanding, date stamped August 24th, 2022, by the clerk's office, was signed by former Mayor Margot J. Garant and LISEC President Leonard Carolyn. This memorandum of understanding states that the Village of Port Jefferson does hereby approve the payment of $10,000 to LISEC to enable LISEC to commence the lofting and construction of the whaleboat. It being understood and agreed by both parties that the total cost to construct the whaleboat will exceed this sum and will require the transfer to LISEC of additional funds, whether by payment from the village, outside donations, and or fundraising by both the village and LISEC to permit LISEC to complete construction of the whaleboat. LISEC shall be under no obligation to continue or complete construction of the whaleboat if such additional funds cannot be raised by the parties and transferred to LISEC after the initial $10,000 set forth above has been expended. End of quotes. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, but this is one of the things that gets steam coming out of my ears. It's my understanding that there was no written agreement between this group and the village that was executed.
Not that we could find.
Okay. And there was something, I believe, about we were matching their fundraising. Am I understanding this? We were going to match whatever they, there was something in there that
There was an initial $10,000 in seed money that was voted on by the Board of Trustees.
okay.
And that was approved
That was a resolution.
as a resolution.
But
Only that portion.
wasn't there something about them raising money, but if they did not hit their goal, we would still pay them?
Well,
Or
this
they
is the
would-
portion that I've just read,
Yeah.
trustee.
That's, yeah.
So it does say that if the funds are not found
What's their
in
impetus to
total,
run, what's their impetus to, what I'm getting at is I don't believe there's nothing there to make them want to raise the money. They can say, we're holding a fundraiser. We didn't raise anything. Oh, tough, we're gonna get the 10 grand from the village. Am I reading that right?
Well,
Yeah.
In the last line, LISEC shall be under no obligation to continue or complete construction of the whaleboat if such additional funds cannot be raised by the parties, and legally the parties' attorney is the village and LISEC, and transferred to LISEC after the initial $10,000 is set forth. So
I'm just questioning whether this was a tightly written agreement and had the best interests of the village and the taxpayers. That's my only, I think they do great work, but
This is the MOU.
here we are.
So, which is why we are bringing this resolution to the board tonight about the MOU, just to make sure that this board is committed, and if
I think it would
Just
be
to-
unfair to them at this point to.
Yeah,
pull the
well,
plug
yes,
out.
agree 100%. And to take a couple of steps back, this whaleboat build, it's the 1776.
Just a,
It's concerning from my perspective.
Do you have a mic?
It's concerning from my perspective that it's an open-ended cost. You know, is the village prepared to with no real contract to, what if it's another $150,000 to rise and complete a whaleboat? I don't know what it costs to do that.
But is this obligating us as it's written? Because I'm not seeing that it's obligating us as it's written to write an open check. It's saying,
It is obligating you to spend $10,000 with
$10,000,
with nothing to show for it, maybe on the back end, if its cost exceeds at some point.
We might have a half-finished whaleboat.
Or not
none.
even started whaleboat, just
Right.
an architectural drawing of a whaleboat.
well, the whaleboat's already being.
See, I don't know that.
Started.
So if it's half complete, again, it's just a lot concerning here from a legal perspective.
Is there
if we
something-
need to enforce obligations?
Is there something we should add to this resolution to tighten it a tiny bit that would protect the village a little better?
I think you would need information about at least an estimated cost to complete the project, to be fiduciary responsible to the taxpayer, to understand an obligation before you enter into it.
Yeah, my understanding is this resolution number 8 on this agenda is essentially putting, adopting the $10,000. We're looking at the $10,000 that was committed, and then as a board, the mayor will be working with these groups moving forward and perhaps create something to look at the next steps as to what the village is willing to commit to, support, all of this. I don't see anything about beyond $10,000 in this. Am I reading that incorrectly?
Again, you're reading it the way you're reading it, so I can't say if that's
I'm
incorrect
asking
or
the
not.
attorney.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you from my perspective, it troubles me that the village is encumbering $10,000 with possibly nothing to show for it at the end of the day, or at least an estimated cost to understand what it will cost to complete this project, because otherwise it gives the unilateral right for one party to walk away.
Sure.
We have some information, however, an estimate that is dated August of 2022, and that estimate is for almost $164,000.
So what,
Right,
but
which is
there
not
are
our
other
mon- which
elements, hold on.
It's not our money.
Right.
Hold on a minute.
LIHTC money.
The elements, this is a budget that they came up with to address the cost of the wellboat build, the trailer that is going to be needed to transport the wellboat in and out of launching into the water, and also a shelter for the wellboat.
Correct.
So those are elements of the need. Look,
The total build, yes, you are correct, Mayor. The total build is, according to this, is $68,000, and the balance, you are correct. The balance is what they call whaleboat support. Also, it's important to note that according to the treasurer, the village would not be able to spend additional monies without approval from our Treasury Department and, of course, resolutions to back that up.
Okay.
so I had a discussion with the president of the LIHTC today, just to clarify some of these things, and to talk about the village's role in potentially participating or supporting fundraising initiatives. But it does have to have the support of this board to get that involved. As I mentioned earlier, the 60th anniversary celebration of incorporation, that event we're talking about as LIHTC would be the fundraising arm for that event, and so proceeds would be going to LIHTC for their wellboat build project. And just another part of the conversation that we had is that this being the 250th, in preparation for the 250th anniversary of independence, which is 2026, this whaleboat is being built as part of the ceremonious celebration of that anniversary, to commemorate it. And we're told there are incredible fundraising or grant opportunities for such projects, and this would be one project that we're told would be very attractive to those funding organizations. So while the village is not a fundraiser, we do work with several different not-for-profits, the Conservancy being one, LIHTC being another, and therefore perhaps we bring them together to work together and with some liaisonship of a member of the Board of Trustees or 2 members of the Board of Trustees to help out with that. And then maybe we can help them from that end, see themselves get over the finish line. I feel like this project, and I believed it from the beginning when we first heard about it in September, I believe, of 2022, that it's a very worthwhile project and one that will definitely reflect a significant aspect of the history of Port Jefferson in the Revolutionary War. And it is one of only 3 whaleboats. It will be one of only 3 whaleboats of its kind and the only one that is seafaring. So anyway, with all that said, if there's any other discussion, I'd love to hear it now before we vote on this resolution.
Yeah, I think that the village creating a committee to assist with this is a great way to, without accessing taxpayer funds, to support as you've described.
There is a whaleboat build steering committee on the volunteer page.
Yes.
Yes.
There is.
Thank you.
There we go, looping it all together. So, residents who are interested in this history, in this maritime past of ours can volunteer to help come together and raise these funds. And, perhaps we can consider inviting LISEC back to give a presentation of an update and also, engage community members in this, and again, fully explain the spirit and practicality of this project here. I think that the village supporting moving forward in these ways, and I'd be curious, I can't remember off the top of my head where that $10,000 came from.
I don't know the funding source. Yeah, I think it was general fund.
I know sometimes things would be taken out of like the farmers market fund or like other funds that aren't actually taxpayer money. So if the treasurer is able to get us that information, that might be helpful. Thank you.
No, but okay. More
Just
discussion?
for clarification,
Yes.
after comment, first I've seen this on the agenda because, as you know, I was away. I have a little bit warmer feeling because what I'm being explained by Madam Clerk is that this agreement was already entered into, however, not voted on by the board. So we're really fixing that mistake from the past, which needs to be done anyway.
Mhm.
So as far as this 10 grand, which I'm going to assume has already been spent.
It has.
It's just correcting a mistake, but moving
The
forward.
$10,000 was approved by the board as seed funds to get the
But
whaleboat
no one
project
executed
started.
the actual memorandum.
Correct.
So we're just correcting that mistake.
Okay.
That's what I was just explaining to me.
Yes.
If this move is, which I would appear to move forward, I would request from LISEC additional information to either set some parameters like, additional funding not to exceed 10% of what they think. So $80,000 to complete the build. So in the interest of open, transparent government, we have a light at the end of the tunnel, which to be expected. And if we come in under that, great.
And I think to your suggestion is a great idea, and we can invite them in to give a presentation about where the project stands and what else is planned.
I feel better.
Okay. Yeah. The $10,000 has been spent, and it was voted on by and approved by resolution by the Board of Trustees.
And it is, if you're ever strolling past and you see the lights on in the LISEC boat.
The Bayless ship.
The Bayless boat shop there.
I think that it's wonderful.
No, just letting the public know that they're very, very inviting. You poke your head in there, and you can see them physically building this boat, and they will tell you more than you want to know about it. But it's really, it's an incredible, one of the sort of hidden gems in the
I'm
community.
sorry if they
in my opinion.
didn't intend to get them into the crossfire
Your
of government
concern,
operations.
yeah, it was not interpreted as such.
So this resolution is really just approving the MOU.
Correct.
Fixing a.
That was not
Call it
approved.
a housekeeping item, just.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Fine.
Okay, have a motion and a second, madam.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution number 09100223, resolution approving the hiring of Kathleen McLean and Adam Rubin as independent contractor content creators on an as-needed basis, effective immediately, at an hourly rate of $45 per hour, not to exceed $25,000 total for the remainder of the current fiscal year. May I have a motion?
Motion.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution number 10100223, resolution to adjourn the October 2nd, 2023 Village of Port Jefferson Board of Trustees meeting at 8:28 p.m.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.